News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. On the Mark is powered by Cunis Country Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area at 221 North 36th Street, Quincy. Faith, family, and giving back. That's Cunis Country. And now, here's Mark Hespin.
Good morning, Tri-States, and wherever you may be listening on the News Talk 1070 KHMO app. This is On the Mark. I am Mark Hespin, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. What's so great about Cunis Honda Hyundai is the network of dealers. If you are in the market for a new vehicle, but you want a Jeep, you want a Ram, you want, a GMC, you can still go to Cunis Honda Hyundai. They will get you that lifetime powertrain, no fear warranty on those vehicles because they have the network of dealers. I'm telling you, it's magic. Stop by Cunis Honda Hyundai, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Just tell them Mark sent you and get to shopping. Welcome on into episode 224 of On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO on this February 17th, broadcasting live and local from our KHMO studios here in the heart of Quincy. Chilly day. It was like 12 degrees as I was driving into work this morning. It was Mother Nature had a little final blast of winter for us here in the tri-state area. I don't know what the weather's like wherever you may be listening. And I do want to start the show this morning on a somber note, saying that we once again in America are faced with the reality that you may go to celebrate your favorite team winning a World Series or a Super Bowl, and you may lose your life during that celebration because of just absolute senseless gun violence. And it is heartbreaking. My heart is with the people of Kansas City as they recover. You're already starting to see some incredible things that the Chiefs players, Patrick Mahomes and his wife were visiting children who are recovering from gunshot wounds. Already starting to see some of that stuff on social media, and that's great, and it's heartwarming, and I love that they're doing that. And you see the great story, Taylor Swift donating $100,000 to the fund of the family of the woman who lost her life in the shooting. But it is just another somber reminder that we live in a country right now where, whether you're at a 4th of July parade, you're at a movie theater, you're, going to the mall, the grocery store, you're just not necessarily safe in this country. And it's heartbreaking. But that's, I guess, what we as Americans have chosen is okay because we're just not doing anything about it. And I'm not sitting here telling you what the right answer is to do. I'm a firm Second Amendment believer, but just another day in America where it's heartbreaking, it's frustrating, and it's sad. So my heart is with the people of Kansas City this morning. I wanted to make sure we start off the show that way. We have a lot of exciting things to get to on the show, and that's what the show is going to be, episode 224 of On the Mark. We're going to break down the Super Bowl here coming on up. I'll give you two crucial moments in the Super Bowl that had nothing to do with the overtime. That I think if you're a 49ers fan this morning, or as you still are digesting your team losing the Super Bowl, you have to look at and you have to be critical of your team. And so we'll get into that. We'll talk Mahomes and now this extremely exciting kind of world that we live in as football fans of the Mahomes effect, the Mahomes era, and how other teams can manage the Mahomes era and what your team should be doing. They should be looking to do during this Mahomes era. We will talk my Chicago Bears. The Bears are on the clock. The next season begins, and it begins with free agency coming on up at the draft. I'll give you a little insight as to what I think the Chicago Bears GM needs to be thinking here as ahead of the draft, and a couple other quick hitter topics. Daytona 500 tomorrow. I love my big NASCAR races and the All-Star break in the NBA, and kind of a quick thought on the NBA before we start diving way more into the NBA and other sports on the upcoming shows. All right, let's jump into it. It's Hespin headline number one. Congrats to the Kansas City Chiefs for winning Super Bowl 58.
Hespin's headlines on the Mark.
All right. The Super Bowl was won by the Kansas City Chiefs in overtime with an incredible drive by Patrick Mahomes. An absolute wizardry. He was 8 for 8 on the final drive. He also had 20-plus yards rushing. He is the greatest football player on the planet right now. He is, I have no problem if anyone wants to say he's already a top 3 quarterback of all time. To me, he's working his way into that category for me for sure. And he's magic. He's money. He's money Mahomes. He's magic Mahomes. He's spectacular. We'll talk more about him later. Because even though the Super Bowl ended with a credible overtime drive, the Super Bowl and Super Bowl 58, when you look back on history, you have to talk about the third quarter and the start of the third quarter in Super Bowl 58. Super Bowl 58 was won by the Kansas City Chiefs in the third quarter because the 49ers absolutely pooped the bed in the start of the third quarter in Super Bowl 58. The first half was dominated by San Francisco. 3 points for the Chiefs at halftime. They were moving the ball, you know what I mean? Like they had some drives where they just could not score. They could not get anything into the red zone. They couldn't get it going. The Niners defense was flying around. The Niners offense was moving the ball as well as they could against an extremely good Chiefs defense. But in the third quarter, everything was going, all right, momentum, started it off, kick it off to the Chiefs. Can the Chiefs get a drive together, 10-10, and let's get this thing going? And no. The Niners defense does what they do. They force Mahomes into a really ugly interception of the first drive of the third quarter. Something Mahomes doesn't do. He doesn't throw ugly interceptions. And the Niners got one. And they got one with good field position. Good field position to start the third quarter. They forced Mahomes into an interception on the first drive after they kicked the ball off. All the momentum in the world. They go up 17-3. You let this defense clamp down, and it is a whole new ball game. And what happens? Well, I'll tell you what happens. Kyle Shanahan goes shotgun. Brock Purdy pass incomplete to Shenault. And then on 2nd and 10, penalty false start on Banks. Moves it to 2nd and 15. Brock Purdy pass incomplete short left to Deebo Samuel. 3rd and 15. Brock Purdy scrambles left end to Kansas City for 4 yards. They punt. 4th and 11. Okay. All right. Kansas City's defense steps up. The Niners punt. Kansas City gets the ball back. The Niners defense forces another 3 and out. All right, 10-3. Niners, you have your chance. Go up. You can go still up. Get up 17-3. Regroup. Let's go. Regroup. Second drive of the Niners in the third quarter. Brock Purdy pass short left to Jennings. -8 yards. -8 yards. They blew it up. Shenault was great on that. Brock Purdy pass short left to Christian McCaffrey for 7 yards. Who gains a 3rd and 11. Brock Purdy pass incomplete to George Kittle. 4th and 11 again, they punt. And what happens then? The Chiefs put a drive together. 9 plays, 47 yards, eat up 4 minutes of the clock. They get a field goal. The Niners defense holds them to a field goal. Steve Wilks, his defense holds them to a field goal. Guy just got fired. Third drive for the Niners. All right. Kansas City just scored. You got to put a drive together. Go get some points up. Go back up, get a field goal. Go back up, by a score. Get a touchdown. Make it a 2-score game. 3 and out. They finally hand the ball off to Christian McCaffrey for the first time in the third quarter on the third drive on a 1st and 10 from their own 25. No gain. Brock Purdy pass incomplete to short left to Ayuk. Brock Purdy pass incomplete to Deebo Samuel. And they punt. What happens after that? The defense holds the Kansas City Chiefs. They hold them. Kansas City goes 3 and out. It's still 10-6. And then the game breaks open. The Niners force the punt. The Chiefs punt, fumble, one-play touchdown, and here it is. The Chiefs are up 13-10. 13-10. That's the game. That is the game. I don't want to hear about Kyle Shanahan in overtime. That's the game. You're up 10-3. Your defense forces an interception, a punt, to start the third quarter. And your first 3 drives of the third quarter in the second half, 3 plays punt, 3 plays punt, 3 plays punt, with 1 rush to Christian McCaffrey. It's inexcusable. It's inexcusable. It's bad play calling. It's bad game planning. And the stars didn't show up. I said last week at Kunis Honda Hyundai, if the Niners are going to win this game, you know what we'll be talking about next week on the show? That the stars balled out. They need their stars to ball out. Ayuk, 3 catches, 49 yards. Deebo Samuel, 3 catches, 33 yards on 11 targets. George Kittle, 2 catches for 4 yards. Now, it's not only bad game planning from the Niners. It's great defense from the Chiefs. I mean, these were 2 incredible defenses. 2 of the 3 best defenses in the NFL, absolutely just on display, balling out in this game. But yes, the overtime was exciting. And yes, Mahomes deserves a ton of credit for winning the game in overtime. But the Niners lost this game at the start of the third quarter. And I'd argue credit to the Niners defense for keeping them alive enough that after the Kansas City 1-play touchdown after the punt, the Niners go on a great drive, 12 plays, 75 yards. They get McCaffrey involved, touchdown. They go up 16-13. The missed extra point's huge there. Then you get the Chiefs to come back with a field goal. And the Niners still have a chance to win the game. And the thing about it, my co-host Sam, on my morning show, 97.9 Kick FM, Mornings of Mark and Sam, she's not a football savant, but she's a football fan. She watches football. And she said, the first thing she said to me Monday morning after the game was, when are teams going to learn not to give Patrick Mahomes the ball back? And shame on the San Francisco 49ers. At 3rd and 5 after the 2-minute warning, the Chiefs only had 2 timeouts. You could still win the game. You've done enough to win the game. And what do they do on 3rd and 5 after the 2-minute warning? When you know that all you have to do is get a first down and Patrick Mahomes doesn't get the ball back, you kick a field goal to win the Super Bowl 19-16 if you get a first down. 3rd and 5. They put the ball in the hands of Brock Purdy, and they throw the ball to Jennings. Incomplete. Great coverage by McDuffie, but really incredible pressure by Chris Jones in the front of Kansas City, the front 7. They settle. The clock stops with a minute 53. They kick a field goal 19-13, 19-16. And at that point in time, we know the game is dead. They're dead. The Niners are dead. The Chiefs were going to win it in regulation. Could have won it on the throw to Kelsey or Rice was up the middle if they needed the touchdown. They go in overtime and they were dead. No matter what happened in overtime, no matter who got the ball in overtime, you're dead. You're dead. It's Patrick Mahomes. You're dead. You missed your chances. You had 2 chances to win this game. 3 3-and-outs to start the third quarter, and then a 3rd and 5 after the 2-minute warning. Run the ball to Christian McCaffrey. He picks up 2 yards, 3 yards, maybe gets a first down. The game is over. The game is over. Kyle Shanahan did not have the guts to go for it and put the ball in the best player in his field's hands, 3rd and 5. Instead, he put it in the hands of Brock Purdy. And let me talk about Brock Purdy here really quickly. I put a video up on my YouTube channel, at Mark Hespin. Follow it there. All my social media on Twitter/X, Instagram, YouTube, at Mark Hespin, MarkHespen, talking about if the Niners should move off Brock Purdy. They shouldn't. They should not move off Brock Purdy. He gets the year he had this year, and he played solid in the Super Bowl, played solid football, he deserves another chance to win. And also the Niners, they're in kind of a cap situation. You got a veteran team, a lot of old guys. You're paying a lot of guys. You're paying Purdy nothing. Like, you roll with Brock Purdy again. And he was some bad play calls away and maybe a bad punt away from winning a Super Bowl. And he wouldn't have been the Super Bowl MVP. Christian McCaffrey was electric, 160 yards of total offense and a touchdown. But when the game was on the line, and he had they gave him big moments. Kyle Shanahan decided in these biggest moments, the game on the line, in overtime, and on 3rd and 5, we're going to give Brock Purdy a chance to be special. And he wasn't special. He wasn't special. He was just as good as Kirk Cousins would have been in that moment. He was just as good as Dak Prescott would have been in that moment. Not special. Not special. Now, I do want to mention also, I mean, the Chiefs' defense was phenomenal. They were just terrific. Chris Jones in the second half was brilliant. Travis Kelce and Andy Reid, the push, the shove, whatever it was, it worked. Those two guys really, I thought, calmed the waters as well. I also think if Kelce wouldn't have made the contact with Reid, and even if he would have made the contact and Reid wouldn't have stumbled, it would have been less of a story. The fact that Reid kind of stumbled as a big old guy, like, that made it a bigger moment. Kelce was great in the second half. Mahomes he just did enough against that great Niners defense to hang around. The Niners keep giving him chances. But it feels like with Mahomes and that Chiefs offense, no matter what, they were going to get whatever points they needed to be there in the end. And they were. And then in the overtime, they were great. I will say everyone should now know, in the new overtime rules in the NFL, if you win the toss, you kick, you defer. The team that gets the ball first, they do have, the one advantage they have is that they can decide to go for two and put the pressure on. Like, they can really, decide to lay on the pressure. But if you get the ball first, you have to be 4th down territory. You can't think about punting anything. Your only chance to win if you get the ball first in overtime is to score a touchdown and to go for two and be aggressive. Like, put the onus on the other team. That's your advantage, is that you can put the pressure on them, right? So otherwise, you got to kick the ball if you win the coin toss in overtime. You got to, because otherwise, the second team that gets the ball has all the advantages. They know what they need to get. They can win the game with a defensive score. That's an advantage. And in the end, they can win the game if you, like you saw, field goal, touchdown. Like, if you get the ball in overtime because you lose the coin toss, you have to be uber aggressive. Shanahan wasn't. And again, he put the ball in Brock Purdy's hands. Kyle Shanahan had 2 chances to do the thing that you never do. You never give Mahomes the ball back. He had 2 chances to do that. On that 3rd and 5 after the 2-minute warning, and in overtime, in the goal line, he had the chance to not, obviously Mahomes was to get the ball back, but, get a touchdown. Force him to get a touchdown. And if I were the Niners, I would have gone for 2. Force him to get a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. You have to do that with Patrick Mahomes. That's how special he is. Love the game. It was a great Super Bowl 58 was fantastic. I thought it was a fantastic game. It was really riveting in the second half. I know people wanted it to be higher scoring, but the drama with the 3-and-outs and the great defense, to me as a fan of football, was fantastic. I thought Usher did a nice job in the halftime show on roller skates. Heck, impressive to me. I thought the commercials were fun for the most part. I think the game was really just decided by the fact that you had 2 really great defenses, and then Mahomes and Kelce shined in the second half, and McCaffrey, as great as he was in the second half especially, no one else stepped up around them. And was that Brock Purdy? Was that Shanahan? I don't know, but no one else stepped up. Kittle was a non-factor. Debo, 3 catches on 11 targets. That's bad. And then Ayuk, less than 50 yards receiving. You're not going to win that way against Mahomes if you're the Niners. All right, when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about Mahomes, where he starts to rank in the pantheon of the greats, but also how his play is now impacting what other teams can and should do to try to beat the Chiefs and not let them three-peat. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Tell them Mark sent you.
1070 KHMO.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. I was just talking with Levi Billman over at Cunis Honda Hyundai, general sales managers in Hyundai. They got the most new Hyundais on the lot they've had since pre-pandemic. They're finally, everything is settled, and now it's back to full-on normal like it was in 2019. You want a new Hyundai? They're getting them in now. There's no delay, and they have new Palisades, everything on the lot. So stop on by the dealership. You get that 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, the no-fear warranty from Cunis Honda Hyundai. Stop by. Coming up later today on News Talk 1070 KHMO, Palmyra Panther and Highland Cougar basketball girls coverage starts at 11:55, boys at 1:30. Then Mizzou visits Ole Miss to take on the Rebels. Pregame at 7, tip-off at 7:30. Tonight on your home for Mizzou, News Talk 1070 KHMO. I will say I'm done betting Mizzou college basketball. They lost to Vanderbilt. I had them in a parlay, and they lost to Vanderbilt, and that killed me. I had 5 of the 6 legs hit. The one that didn't was Mizzou against Vanderbilt. I'm done betting Mizzou men's college basketball. Hespin headline number 2. Let's get into it. Let's talk a little Patrick Mahomes.
Hespin's headlines on the Mark.
Patrick Mahomes. 3 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, tied with Montana, trailing only Brady. When you look at his career records where he stands now, 28,000 passing yards, 240 plus touchdown passes. If you just now double Mahomes' career, you know, if you average out now, say, okay, these are the first 6 years. If the next 6 years, which are his prime, look like the first 6 years, he'll be just on the outside of top 10 passing yards of all time. And he'll be in the top 8 of touchdown passes of all time. So even if he just plays another 6 years, which, you know, Mahomes is a unique body. I don't know if Mahomes is built to play 20 years like Tom Brady. I don't. Maybe he's only built to play 13, 14, 15 years. Like a normal, you know, like it's just still an insanely long career. We're just being brainwashed by guys like Brady who played for so long. You know, Manning only ended up playing for 98, 16 years. And he missed a year with the neck. So, you know, if he has a normal average length of a career, 12, 14, 15 years, his stats will be there. It's just he's a Hall of Famer from the stats, right? But I want to go back to these Super Bowl MVPs. When I was looking up Mahomes and the Super Bowl MVPs, I noticed something really interesting. Really, really interesting. 5 Super Bowl MVPs for Tom Brady, right? We know that now is a unique spat. And what's so fascinating about that in and of itself, sidebar, you got to remember, it's 2024. 9 years ago, when Peyton Manning won his second Super Bowl, Tom Brady at that point in time only had 3 Super Bowls. And I remember arguing with my buddies. And I remember I have a Facebook memories post about this saying, this is before I had my own show and all that stuff, but saying Peyton Manning's my GOAT. I was always a Peyton over Tom guy. I thought Peyton, I still watch Peyton highlights. Peyton to me is still a top 3 quarterback of all time. Like if I had to like just pick a quarterback maybe of all time, I still think I might go Peyton Manning. Like the dude, so cerebral. No one knew the game like him. In his prime, the deep ball, the accuracy. No one was more accurate in his prime when healthy. Peyton's biggest blunders were in the playoffs. He made some really bad mistakes, and he crumbled under the pressure, which is why he's not the GOAT, and he'll have to live with that. But remember, Peyton had 2. And Tom only had 3. And you could argue, well, Montana had 3, and you could make the argument. There was a real discord of your GOAT could be Brady. It could be Montana. It could be Manning. Heck, you could still throw in Favre, and you could still make a case for the Terry Bradshaws of the world. And then what Tom Brady did in the second half of his career, winning 3 more Super Bowls with New England, winning 1 with Tampa, winning more MVPs, and just exploding. There was no doubt. 3 of those 4 Super Bowls, he was a Super Bowl MVP. There was just no doubt that now Tom is the GOAT. And that 5 is a fascinating number because now Mahomes is at 3. And he's just quickly got to this level, this pantheon, so quickly. But what's interesting is if you look at the guys that he just passed, right? So I just said he's now tied with Montana at 3. But the guys who have 2 Super Bowl MVPs tell a really interesting story about, in my opinion, how you now have to beat Patrick Mahomes. Because look at the guys who have 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Bradshaw, Bart Starr, and then a guy named Eli Manning. Eli Manning. Let's talk about Eli Manning for a little bit. Eli Manning is up for the Hall of Fame next year. I think he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Eli Manning single-handedly prevented Tom Brady from having 9 Super Bowls and probably 7 Super Bowl MVPs, which as great as Mahomes has been, there's just no way. There's just no way he'd get to that. It's just not happening. Eli Manning, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. And why Eli Manning is so interesting is because Eli Manning, for the majority of his career, if you look at his career versus Dak Prescott's career, it's about the same. Numbers, yeah, it's winning, a lot of losing. You look at Eli Manning versus Kirk Cousins' career, yeah, it's about the same. Winning, losing, a lot of 7-9, 9-7. But what makes Eli Manning so different is that Eli Manning had 2 opportunities to be special and to be great. And he was. He was great. He was special. In the biggest of big moments, he was special. Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, they had moments to be special, to be great. I'd argue that Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo aren't that far off of the talent of Eli Manning. I think Eli Manning he's a more talented guy than Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo, but not by much. Bigger, stronger athlete. But they're just as mobile. And they couldn't do it. They couldn't take the opportunity. And when I look at Patrick Mahomes, the Patrick Mahomes effect now that he has on the league, and the air, and now we're in the Patrick Mahomes era for sure. How are you going to beat Patrick Mahomes? You're going to need a lot of luck. You're going to need a great team around you, like the Niners. They had some luck getting to this point. They got lucky that Detroit folded. They got lucky that Jordan Love threw one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen in playoff history. And then they had a lot of talent, really great team. And then you're going to need your quarterback to be really special when the special moments show up. That's what it's going to take to beat Patrick Mahomes. So far, we know the Niners don't have it. If the Niners play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl again with this quarterback, I'll take the Chiefs all day, every day. Because I've seen in the big moments, they weren't special. And I'd argue now we're 7 years into Mahomes' career, but 6 as a starter. 6 as a starter. And I've only seen two people be special and rise up to Patrick Mahomes and beat him. One of them is retired, and he's the greatest quarterback of all time. His name's Tom Brady. He beat Mahomes in Mahomes' house on the AFC Championship game with the Patriots. Went on to win a Super Bowl against the Rams. And he demolished Mahomes with a great defense and an absolute litany of weapons with the Tampa Bay Bucks. And Mahomes didn't have his 2 starting tackles. He couldn't do anything. They were decimated with injuries, the Chiefs team that made there. They would have lost to most anyone in that Super Bowl because that had a pass rush because they were decimated. And there was one other guy that beat him, and my guy Austin Hawkins, I just saw the comment on the Facebook Live. Follow the show on the Mark KHM on Facebook Live. Joe Burrow. Don't forget, Joe Burrow went into Arrowhead down 21-10 at half. Took Mahomes to overtime. And he won in overtime. And then lost to an absolutely electric Rams offense and great player in Aaron Donald. And that Bengals defense was good, but they just weren't good enough to overcome that Rams team that was on a special run. And I do think the Rams look out, they're a real dark horse for next year. The Rams starting to look ahead to next year, love the Rams. So my point is, when I'm trying to wrap a bow on this, if you're going to beat Mahomes over the next 5-6 years of his prime, because he is in his prime now, you're going to need a heck of a roster. You're going to need luck. And you're going to need to know that your guy in the biggest moments can be really special. And right now in the league, I only trust one person to do that because I've only seen one person do it in the league. That's Joe Burrow. Now, I do think there's other guys out there that have a chance. They're going to have a chance. Josh Allen will get another chance to do it. He had it this year, couldn't do it this year. Lamar Jackson, he'll get another chance. He had a chance this year, couldn't do it this year. Those are 2 guys. They're at the front of the list for guys who maybe they'll get their moment to be really, really special and beat Patrick Mahomes. So far, they're over. I think that Justin Herbert, the new head coach, he'll get his chance to be special in those big moments. We'll see if he can do it. Jalen Hurts, he was really good, really special in that Super Bowl. But he made the costly play, bad play early on, the turnover, and his defense failed him. So he didn't get enough of the things going. Again, you're going to need your quarterback not to be better than Mahomes because I don't think that's going to happen. But you're going to need the combination of 3 things. The Eagles, they had some luck. They had great play from the quarterback, but their defense wasn't good enough. Their stars weren't good enough to handle the Chiefs. You're going to need 3 things to beat the Chiefs over the next 6 years. You're going to need luck. You're going to need a great defense with a loaded roster. And you're going to need your quarterback to be really special. It'll happen. The Chiefs aren't going to win every Super Bowl the next 5-6 years. They're just not. So it's going to happen. So you have your chances, AFC. Good luck. And then whatever team makes out of the NFC, you're going to need those 3 things. The Niners, they had 2 of the 3 things. Their defense played good. They had their special player play special in Christian McCaffrey, but their quarterback wasn't good enough. Quarterback was not good enough. So that's the Mahomes era we're living in. That's the Mahomes effect. And it leads me into my next point. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, though, there are some teams that are going to be drafting quarterbacks. And when you think about drafting a quarterback, you're going to think about that you are living in the Mahomes era of football. You're living in the Mahomes era. And how does that impact what you do when you draft and you find your guy? Your guy better be able to be special in the big moments. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. Brought to you by the great people at Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number 1 Honda and Hyundai dealer in the Tri-State area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Take a quick break. When we come back, talking a little NFL draft. Live and local in America's News Talk 1070 KHMO. It's on the Mark.
Listen up, parents, teachers, counselors, coaches. Your boys just turned 18, but they need one more push. Don't let them forget to register with the Selective Service System. It's required by law, and it can open up the door to many federal benefits. Visit sss.gov.
Here's your weatherology forecast from the News Talk 1070 KHMO Weather Center. Sunny skies today with highs around 30. Winds out of the west, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Clear skies again tonight. Lows dip down to about 22. Clear skies tomorrow. Highs around 45. Currently, it's 14 degrees.
Welcome on back to On the Mark on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. Go to shopkunis.com. This show is brought to you by Kunis Honda Hyundai. You can look through everything they have at the dealership at shopkunis.com or just stop by the dealership, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Join the Kunis family like I did. Tell them Mark sent you. You can follow me on all social media channels, Twitter/X, Instagram, and on YouTube at Mark Hespen, MarkHespen. Okay. Let's talk about the number one pick. The Chicago Bears are on the clock. If you are in the sphere of the Chicago sports world right now, this is the most divided I've ever seen my fan base that I'm a part of and that I try to speak to and bring clarity to. It is, it's hard. It's tough. And I blame Ryan Poles, the general manager of the Chicago Bears. He got us into this mess, right? He got us into this mess. If the Chicago Bears would have fired Matt Eberflus, which I was a proponent of, and would have gone and got Mike Vrabel, gone and got Jim Harbaugh, gone and got Ben Johnson, insert name here, right? It would have created so much clarity. We would be talking about, you're just drafting Caleb Williams. If you get a new coach, you're just drafting Caleb Williams. You're starting your coach and your quarterback on the same timeline with a really solid roster around them, and everything's easy. There'd be no divisiveness. No divisiveness. But because they're keeping Matt Eberflus, it's created this scenario where, as Bears fans, we all know we've just gone through 2 cycles in a row of lame duck John Fox, draft Mitch Trubisky, 1 year with Trubisky, then he gets fired. And then lame duck Matt Nagy, they draft Justin Fields, 1 year with Matt Nagy, and then he gets fired. And now we're staring down the barrel of draft Caleb Williams, 1 year with Eberflus, he gets fired, and then in the next year coach. It's a horrible, horrible cycle. Ryan Poles got us into this mess. It is his job to get us out of this mess. And if his feeling is we're keeping Matt Eberflus, my hope, my sincerest hope, is that Ryan Poles is looking at evaluating these quarterbacks like he does not have the number one pick. My goal, if I was Ryan Poles, I would forget that I have the number one pick. I would evaluate all of these quarterbacks like I am just evaluating my team that has the 9th overall pick because you had the 9th, worst record in the NFL. You have a quarterback that you showed a lot of promise up and down season, wasn't healthy enough, would love to him to stay healthy. You fired your offensive coordinator because you clearly thought your offense wasn't good enough, right? So you're looking to improve your offense. And I would look at this draft like I didn't have the number one overall pick. And I would evaluate all these quarterbacks. Caleb Williams, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr. I'd look at all of them, and I would say, would I trade up to the number one pick for one of these guys? Would I sell the farm? Would I trade number 9? Would I trade next year's first? Would I trade a good player? What it would take to go from 9-1 like the Panthers did last year to go from 9-1. Would I trade up? Would I give the Panthers deal to a team to go get the number one pick? The Panthers were at 9 last year. They traded their first, next year's first, next year's second, and a star player to go to number 1. If I'm Ryan Poles, I evaluate all these quarterbacks. And if I am that in love with Jayden Daniels or Caleb Williams or Drake May that I would trade number 9, next year's number 1, next year's number 2, and a star player to go get that guy, then I would draft that guy number 1 overall. But if I'm Ryan Poles and I evaluate these quarterbacks and I look at them all and I wouldn't do that deal. I wouldn't trade that deal to go from 9 to 1. I wouldn't do it. There would be too many red flags. Just don't have enough conviction. Then I would trade the pick. Because if you don't have that much conviction that is the guy I want, that's my franchise, then you take that haul. The haul is better. The haul is better. Let the phones keep ringing, Ryan Poles, but put that side of your brain away when you evaluate the quarterbacks. If you're willing to trade what other people are willing to trade you to go get that guy, well, then just take that guy and have conviction in it. But if not, get the haul, run it back with Justin Fields for another year. You can always draft another quarterback next year if it doesn't work out. There's always another quarterback. There's always more quarterbacks. And you have a really solid quarterback right now who's on a trajectory. The arrow is pointed up with a really solid team that's arrow is pointed up. So please, Ryan Poles, evaluate the quarterbacks like you don't have the number 1 pick. That's all I ask of you. That's all I ask. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. When we come back, we'll get off of football for a little bit. We're live and local in America's News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app.
I noticed that my central vision started to blur.
Figures that are usually straight started to distort and become wavy.
What are these little dark spots with blurring that I'm seeing?
There's a blind spot like a blob over my vision now.
Is my vision lost forever?
Why did I wait so long to see a retina specialist?
Retinal disease can steal your eyesight, but it doesn't have to. Patients who seek care from a retina specialist in a timely manner have the best chance of preventing vision loss due to age-related macular degeneration or diabetic retinopathy. AMD symptoms to look out for are distortion or warping of straight lines, as well as blurred or loss of central vision. Patients with diabetic retinopathy should seek treatment if they notice the appearance of spots or floaters or blurred and distorted vision. Don't delay seeing a retina specialist. It's worth the visit to save your vision so you don't miss out on life's precious moments, like seeing your grandchild grow up, enjoying a sunset with that special someone, or reading a good book. Visit seeforalifetime.org.
1070 KHMO.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app, brought to you by the great people at Kunis Honda Hyundai, your number 1 Honda and Hyundai dealer in the Tri-State area. 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. You got to ask them about that lifetime powertrain warranty, the no-fear warranty on new and used vehicles. Tell them Mark sent you. Also want to let you know that coming up later today on News Talk 1070 KHMO, Palmyra Panther and Highland Cougar basketball. Girls coverage starts at 11:55, boys at 1:30. Then Mizzou visits Ole Miss to take on the Rebels. Pregame at 7, tip-off at 7:30. Tonight on your home from Mizzou, News Talk 1070 KHMO. All right, wrapping up the show here, episode 224 of On the Mark. Daytona 500 this weekend. Can't wait to watch Daytona 500 tomorrow. You know, I already bet my guy Brad Keselowski to win it all. Joey Logano's the favorite, plus 900. Joey Logano, had a disappointing end of the year last year in the playoffs, is the defending champ, but I think he's going to have a bounce back year for sure. Blaney is the favorite to win the Cup if you're looking, your kind of future odds for the NASCAR, followed by Larson, Byron, and Hamlin. All have better odds than Chase Elliott. I think this is going to be a big bounce back year for Chase Elliott. He is a superstar. He's a champion. He's a young. I think it's a bounce back year for Elliott, but I like my guy Keselowski to also win some races this year. RFK Racing now, after they got that first year jitters out of the way, and I think they're really going to explode this year. Also, NBA All-Star break. Celtics #1 team in the NBA, best record in the NBA at the break, 43-12. They're very good. They're very good. But the Celtics, to me, at this point in time, I still feel strongly about I can't trust the Celtics till I see them in the playoffs and doing this stuff in the playoffs. I still think the Bucks are the team to beat. They'll figure it out. They'll get it together. The size, Giannis, Dame, star power. Giannis has been there before. He's got a ring. I still think the Bucks are my team in the East. Celtics, very, very good. And they can surprise. They can shock. But I'm not buying the Celtics at 100%. And the West is so wide open. The Clippers, the Nuggets, Phoenix coming on of late, 7-3 in their last 10, heading into the break. It's going to be a fun stretch here. I love how the calendars now work. That basically the Super Bowl gets you to NBA All-Star Weekend. And now we have March Madness, NBA second half of the season. So you have exciting, important games that are men's basketball, women's college basketball, and the NBA. It's really tuned up nice. And spring training starting. So the NFL now carries us to where all the important stuff is just kind of kicked off. You can kind of ignore the beginning halves of the season for the NBA. A reminder, I just want to say my heart is with the people of Kansas City this morning as they recover from that shooting and heartbreaking stuff. But want to know that we're with you. We're thinking about you this morning and hoping that something like that never, ever has to happen again. Thank you so much for making me a part of your Saturday morning. As always, follow me on all social media at Mark Hespin. Let's watch a little NASCAR this weekend. Enjoy it. We'll talk to you soon. See you next week.